and today for the Global Science Show, I'm going to be looking at the science of cookies. Baking is the perfect science experiment to do at home. Each ingredient has a purpose. The amount of each ingredient will play a crucial part in how your cookies will turn out. And the best bit is you can eat the results, although some might not be as tasty as others. So what ingredients are our cookies going to be made of? We have flour. Flour is the base of our cookie and gives it structure. There are two types of protein in flour, called glutenin and gliadin. When liquid is added to the flour, the proteins come together and form a new protein called gluten. When heated in the oven, the proteins and starches in the flour turn into a sturdy structure. Eggs. Eggs help bind all the ingredients together. When it's heated, the proteins in the eggs open up and make the batter into a semi-solid state. It also gives it a smooth, cookie-like texture. Butter. Butter is a fat and it will make our cookies less chewy. Fats are amazing tenderizers. They coat the proteins in flour, which prevents them from mixing with the liquids and forming gluten. Baking powder. Baking powder makes our cookies rise. But how? Well, when the ingredients mix with other ingredients, it makes carbon dioxide bubbles and it gets trapped into the mix. As the cookies bake in the oven, the trapped gas bubbles expand, making the cookie rise and expand. Sugar. Caster sugar, while not great for our teeth, makes cookies taste delicious. It also helps by absorbing the moisture, leaving our cookies crispier. Vanilla extract. Chocolate chips, because it's the law. So for my experiment, I'm going to bake batches of cookies, but we'll change one ingredient each time to see what happens. So to start, we're going to need a control batch of cookies following a recipe. And with some video magic, they're here! Now, for the first experiment, I'm going to be seeing how oven temperature and cooking time will affect our cookies. I will bake the first batch to the recipe's exact instructions. The second will be baked for less time but at a higher temperature. And the third and final batch will be baked at a lower temperature but for a longer time. What do you think is going to happen? So the oven's ready. Ready, steady, bake! Well, that's all our cookies baked. Let's see how they turned out. As you can see, all three batches look very different. So batch 1 was baked per the recipe, gas mark 6 for 10 minutes. Ooh! Oh, perfectly gooey on the inside. Oh. Batch 2 was baked at a lower temperature, gas mark 3, but for 20 minutes. So if we crack it open, it's quite undercooked in the middle. It doesn't have much flavour. Very chewy. Not the best. Batch 3 was baked for just 5 minutes, but at gas mark 9. It's like a rock. It's still gooey on the inside. Oh, clumsy. It's kind of chocolatey. Yeah. So in conclusion, cooking time and heat does affect the way that the cookie cooks, because the ones that were cooked at the actual correct time are how you would expect a cookie to look when you buy one. The ones that have been cooked for less are undercooked, and the other ones are overcooked. So it is best to cook them at the right temperature. Now let's get on with our next experiment. So here we have our 5 different cookie dough mixtures. They are all based on the same recipe that we used for other ones, but for each one I've either removed or changed one of the ingredients. Can you guess what was changed just by looking at them? So we have the standard recipe, our control dough, the recipe with the baking powder removed, recipe with soft brown sugar instead of caster sugar, recipe with no flour, and the recipe with no butter. As you can see, they all look very different, but how will this affect the way they cook? So this dough is our exact recipe and will be our control cookie. I'm going to make some balls, and I'm going to do 6 of them. We need to make sure they are all roughly the same size, otherwise they won't cook properly or they'll cook slightly differently depending on the size. Our second cookie dough has a baking powder removed. How do you think having no baking powder will affect our cookie? For our third dough, I swapped the caster sugar for soft brown sugar. Our fourth dough is the one that has no flour. Again, it looks very different and a lot wetter. What do you think will happen to it in the oven? Look at my hands! Our final dough has no butter. Looks very different, doesn't it? Almost like breadcrumbs. It won't bind together at all! Right. Add a little. Boom! These are our control cookies. They look how like a stereotypical crunchy cookie would look. And now I'm going to break the cookie in half and see what it's like inside. Ooh, proper gooey and like crispy. It's got the perfect crunch on the outside and soft gooey in it. So when you eat it, you get that initial like crunchy punch, gooey. Now let's have a look at how the ones with no baking powder turned out. Whoosh! So these are the cookies that had no baking powder. Without the baking powder, there are no carbon dioxide bubbles trapped in the dough to help the cookies rise. So they've turned out rather flat. Let's taste it. They're really crunchy. They're not too bad. Oh well, still a cookie. And now on to our next ones. Next up are our cookies made with brown sugar. Granulated white sugar makes the cookies browner by caramelizing and crispier by absorbing the moisture in the dough. The brown sugar has made the cookies softer and chewier. That's because it contains molasses. The molasses adds moisture, and because it's slightly acidic, causes the proteins in the dough to firm up faster, creating a chewier texture. So let's crack it open. Gooey on the inside. Now on to the next cookie. These are the cookies that were made with no flour. Looks a bit of a mess, really. It's like after proper. Got a bit of the corner. It's really crispy. It's so good. Yeah. Chocolate doesn't solve everything. On to the next one. And now for our final cookies, the ones made without the butter. We need the butter as it coats the flour, helping protect it during baking. This prevents gluten from forming, making the cookies tender and less chewy. I'm not excited about these. Ow, that hurt my tooth. I can't eat that. That tastes very nice. Yeah. That's all of our cookies cooked and burnt. And so now we're going to go on to the conclusion. Now for the conclusion. This experiment has shown that the ingredients and their amounts do affect the cookies in good and bad ways. All the ingredients, cooking temperature and time work together to make the perfect cookie. I never knew cookies were so complicated. For example, changing the sugar from caster sugar to soft brown sugar made it softer, chewier cookie. But on the other hand, forgetting the flour resulted in a dry and burnt cookie that wasn't very tasty. If you like a good, chewy cookie, maybe consider changing the sugar. This experiment will work for cakes too. Why not find your favourite cookie or cake recipe and mess around with the amounts and see what happens? You never know, you may end up finding a tastier recipe. Hope you enjoyed. Bye!